Hey guys, Chris here from Boxing Brothers Online Coaching. Today I'm going to be demonstrating some bag drills that's going to help you fine tune your angles. I'm also going to elaborate and shed light as to when to execute an angle. Angles have become very popular in boxing lately due to Lomachenko. He really brought light to the whole realm of angles. Of course, it's been popular and a very important component of boxing before that, but Lomachenko has really brought attention to footwork and the significance of footwork, which is great because it shows growth in the sport and progression in the sport. So I'm seeing a lot of guys come in and hit the bag and they're executing angles really effectively and in the ring and they're sparring and so forth, but the time in which they're choosing to execute those angles isn't always effective. So for example, if I'm standing in front of my opponent and my opponent is ready to receive me and they're at a range in which if I were to execute an angle, they could easily accommodate and just turn with me and face me, that's probably not a good time to execute an angle. So today, on the bag, I'm going to show you some bag drills that you can do that are going to help you determine when you should be executing angles and how to manipulate your opponent in a way so that you can execute an angle and capitalize on the angle, as opposed to executing an angle and having your opponent quickly turn with you and not being able to really cash in on that opportunity that you created. Angles also exert a lot of energy. So if you're going to create an angle, you want to make sure that it's worth it. So these bag drills are going to help you understand what you can do to manipulate your opponent in a way so that when you angle out, you can land shots and have them baffled. So guys, we're going to keep it pretty simple. I'm going to show you two of the most efficient methods that you can implement against your opponent to try to achieve that angle. The first one we're going to focus on is throwing punches. So whenever you throw punches, you change the state of your opponent more often than not. So they might use their guard, their parries, their slips, whatever it may be. Throwing punches in bunches even more so. So what you want to do is you're going to be moving around in the bag. You're going to be coasting with your jab, just nice and relaxed. And then eventually you're going to throw a series of punches. Throwing a series of punches more often than not is going to cause your opponent to go into a defensive mode. So they're going to shut their guard, they're going to try evading all of those punches, they're going to ground themselves to get their balance so they can receive those punches. Whatever it is that they do, you are going to change the state that they're in, okay, by throwing multiple punches. So what you want to do is throw those multiple punches, but when you do throw them, don't throw them too hard and fast, throw them light and fast so that you can maintain your balance, because your intention is not to land those punches that you threw, but to manipulate your opponent in a way that you can get that angle off, okay? So up against that bag, you're going to move around and jabbing, nice and light, as if you're boxing that opponent, then you're going to throw a series of punches hard and fast, bang, bang, for example, 3. Hopefully that would have manipulated your opponent. You'll make that observation at the time, all right? Testing it and throwing fast, light punches against your opponent to see how they respond is a good way to do it first. So you've noticed that they do that. They go to their guard, they try slipping all your shots, they ground themselves and defend. So I'm going to throw those multiple punches fast and hard, bang, 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 they do whatever. I'm going to execute the angle, and then I'm going to throw punches with the intention to land on that angle, okay? So I'm manipulating my opponent using punches, okay? And you want to make sure that you angle out to the left and the right, and the way you throw the punches before making the angle is different to the way you throw the punches after having made the angle. The punches that you throw initially aren't necessarily with the intention to land. The punches that you throw afterwards are hard and fast because your intention is to land those, okay? So up against the bag, jabbing, nice and light. Yeah, I might throw a fast one too. Out and then boom. I land those punches hard and fast on that angle, okay? I'm throwing punches to distract my opponent to freeze them up. Hopefully they come to the guard. Doesn't necessarily need to be up against the ropes in the corner, can be in the middle of the ring. If you throw fast, hard punches to your opponent in levels to the body, to the head, and they go to that guard or they try slipping, great opportunity to angle out. When you do angle out, it's really important that you throw the right punch once you're on that angle. So for example, if I have moved to the right of my opponent, to my left, and I've pivoted out, and now my opponent is facing out that way, I don't want to be punching back here because that's an illegal shot. I'm punching in the back of the head. I want to be doing the opposite. I want to be punching into my opponent. Yeah? So from this position, I've thrown those fast punches, I've stepped out, pivoted, I've executed that angle, my opponent is now facing this way. I want to flick my left and load up my right hand as hard as I can to the body or to the head. Likewise, when you're moving into the opposite direction, I've thrown those fast hard punches, I've executed the angle. From this position, I can launch out my straight right, but then I want to be loading up big left hooks or big left rips, because that is your greatest point of leverage, and you're going to be throwing scoring punches against your opponent. Okay, so again, another little demonstration, hands up, just moving around, nice tight guard, and you're going to throw fast punches, angle out, and then slam a shot. Yeah, and then wind back up, reset, and do it in the opposite direction. You're here, you throw those fast punches to freeze your opponent up, you step out, you pivot, boom, you land that big shot, that hook, that rip, whatever it may be. Back to your guard before they turn around and start boxing you again. Alright guys, the second and major method that I like to use when it comes to executing angles against the opponent is having received shots, so off the defense. The last one was a little bit more of an aggressive and offensive way of executing an angle. This way is a more kind of defensive way. Okay, so imagine you're in front of your opponent and you receive a punch and you defend that punch however you see fit, whatever you want to visualize. There's so many options, I'm going to demonstrate all of them. So I'm against the bag, I'm visualizing my opponent. We're kind of just coasting, cruising around, throwing those punches, and then eventually I imagine a punch coming to me, the jab, the straight right, whatever it may be, something slippable. I'm going to slip that shot, and I'm going to use the leverage that I have from that slip, transferring my weight to that foot to pivot out, okay, and then throw. Again, my opponent missing, or me effectively having defended their punch, is another great way to angle out because they are vulnerable. They've missed a punch or that you've blocked a shot. Them having thrown a punch and being ineffective with it, unsuccessful with that punch, is a great opportunity for you to pivot out, okay? So I would vary it every single time. So I might roll under a shot and then use that as leverage to pivot out. I might slip a shot, use that as leverage to pivot out. I might parry a shot and use that as leverage to pivot out. Parrying off their shot. I might just shield something. They're throwing a big hook, I've shielded it, I use it as leverage, I pivot out, and then I throw. Again, my opponent is in a vulnerable state. So I can pivot out and know that chances of me being able to cash in on that opportunity are really high. Again, you want to be doing it on both sides. You want to be doing it on both sides, moving around, coasting, nice and relaxed. Then I'm going to slip out and then bang, 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 throw a series of punches. Likewise, in the opposite direction, I want to vary as much as I can, jabbing, cruising. I slip, I go out, smash those punches. Yeah? And again, back to cruising, get that jab out, I might shield, and then out I go with that angle. So moral of the story, guys, is whenever you want to execute an angle against your opponent, or even when you're hitting the bag and doing your shadowboxing, don't just randomly angle out. Make sure that your opponent is in a vulnerable state before you do it. The best way to do that is against your opponent, test stuff out. See how they respond to things. You know, if they throw big looping shots and they're easy to get underneath, try to make them miss one of those shots. And then you can angle out. If you find that whenever you throw multiple punches against them, they go into a shell or they try slipping lots of them, good opportunity to angle out. Try to see what things best manipulate your opponent before you angle out. Identify those things, implement them so that you do manipulate them, and then execute that angle accordingly. Once you get on that angle, throw those big shots and do some damage. Thanks for watching this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.